everyone, Jason here from Detroit Speed, and I'm here to show you our latest creation from the project shop, 1965 Buick Riviera GS. So this car was built for a great customer, Jeff Mosing. He comes from a racing background, and he wanted us to build a Riviera, and he wanted to keep the same look, obviously do our thing to it, but he wanted the performance and handling and upgrades that Detroit Speed's known for. As you can see by the stance, and we can change the ride height on it. It's got a 6-speed transmission now, and the body shop knocked it out with that PPG Ferrari Rosa Magella red. This thing is a stunner. So when Jeff's car came to us originally, it was a very similar color to this in its actual factory color. It actually didn't look terribly bad until we kind of started stripping it down, we sandblasted it, and that's when we really started finding they had a lot of work that had been done before. And we found out that there was a lot of repairs of the rear quarters. The roof was just terrible. And so we ended up having to actually reskin the roof. Actually, you had to do a lot of just rust repair in general just to even get it to a working shape to begin with, and then that's when the guys started doing their thing to it. Started off on the body, we got in doing the roof and everything already. We went through and we flushed the front windshield and the back window, and actually Josh changed out the A-pillar here because originally this was chrome through here, and when he was changing it around. Back here in the back, Blake bobbed the back quarter. When we got back to the running board rocker area here, we had a lot of metalwork down in here to do as well. And that's when we added in the exhaust cutouts. Originally there was a trim piece that went fully around the whole lower part here, but then this is actually the part where the actual exhaust comes out for the cutouts. Then we get into a lot of the other stuff, especially when we get back to the front. So in the front up here, we wanted to kind of change it up a little bit because originally the headlight doors were a much finer bar that come across here. We wanted to match the grille. And so we went through, Blake drew up, and we 3D printed models and ended up having all this machined out. We machined the headlight doors because this 65 was the only year that had the clamshells that opened up and closed. We 3D printed the bezels around the outside and chromed them. And then Blake, he's a master. He did this bumper himself, hand formed it all. And then the lower down here, did a lot of work with the metal work down there, and actually even drew up and 3D printed the turn signal lenses to match all the spacing all the way across. Little things like the hood ornament is actually 3D printed stainless steel that then Blake polished down and has a little Easter egg inside there of our logo inside. And you can see down here we got Corvette ZR1 brakes, carbon, all the way around. Like I say, Jeff, he knows what performance is, and we needed a pro touring style for him that he was going for, and so that was a perfect fit for those behind the Forge Line 19s and 20s. Front and rear on it. And then actually when it comes to the brakes on here, you can say complementing that, we're running a Bosch ABS system on it. And it's got a 10-way adjustable, different positions. It's actually programmable, so we can really dial in how you want the ABS to work. And then we come around to the back. That's where a lot of changes happen. A lot of it is because of just metal work in general that needed to happen too. So obviously, like you say, there was actually chicken wire down here holding the lower quarters all together. And so a lot of metal work there, a little bit work with the lip. And in the back here, actually Frenched in this little trim piece in the back that used to sit raised up, and then you can see the flush mounted back window. It's actually the original glass in this car. We polished them, and we're able to save those. And the back part back here is where, again, Blake and Josh, the fabricators on this build, they did an awesome job changing around. So originally these cars, the chrome bumper came all the way around underneath, and the taillight was down here in 65. We kind of wanted to change it up a little bit, make it a little sportier. So they made the tail pan up, came up to here, and Blake again did his work and made these bumpers, the front and rear both, and hand formed them all out. And then we moved the taillight up. So it's actually same shape taillight as it was down here in the lower, but we moved it up into here. It's all started off with a 3D print, machined in-house. Matt Hay did the machine work on those. And in the back, the housings are 3D printed by Blake, and we have Digitail LED panels to do sequential lights on them and everything else. But they look just like they were here. We just moved them up in the upper part. So some people will think that it looks like a 64 or 63, but it is a 65. We just kind of played around with it a little bit. You can't do a project like this and not finish out the trunk. This is, like I say, they did a lot of filler panels around here to hide all the little extras and stuff. We got the fuel doors actually moved up into here because the car was so low that it was uncomfortable to even put fuel in. Little changes. Like I say, back here we even relocated the battery with our kit, and then up in the upper part over here is just where a lot of the stuff, a lot of the mechanisms in here. We got the JRI ride height controls. Everything is all actually in there in a little tray. Same colors kept throughout as we did in the interior. The cattle tan, U-Pole Raptor tinted color for the floor, and then we even carried it into using the original style lights that were used for the interior. We carried them in a couple spots and reused them. It's kind of a really nice touch that we just kept throughout the car. But the trunk turned out excellent, and it's huge. So I love that. So when we get to the interior here, you say one of the interesting characteristics of a Riviera is the interior. You can change it a little bit, but you really need to keep that elegance and those lines true to the car. But yet we wanted to update it with a lot of the new options. But yet you can still look at it and go, this is a Buick Riviera interior. And so like when it comes to the door panels, Cato's Customs did all the interior leather work. It's a cattle tan leather they did, suede roof. They did an awesome job on it. But yeah, with the door panels, we kept the same shape. Blake did a veneer of Australian bloodwood. He actually did to replace the wood in the middle, but it's a very similar shape to the door panel as it was recovered. We actually made our own window switches. There's a lot of little machine work, little pieces here and there to make it all still look like a Riviera, but it all had to have newer stuff. Like the seats here, these are Recaros. They're all the modern stuff you want to see, but we took the tops off just to kind of keep that line like you'd like to see across. And like I say, that way it kind of still looks like the interior you expect. You can actually still put a headrest back in it if you wanted to. One of the biggest things we wanted to change was the steering wheel. Being that we have a 6L90 transmission in there, we have the ability to do fast paddle shifting. And so we wanted to include paddle shift in the steering wheel. And so Blake drew up this, designed it, and then actually Matt Hay did the machine work on it. And so again, Australian bloodwood. I believe there's like 12 pieces in the steering wheel it goes through. They're all stitched together. And like I say, we all the way through. It still looks like the Riviera steering wheel, but now it has paddle shift in it. And then as we move on, Classic Instruments redid the cluster for us. Still, again, same configuration. It looks like you'd expect a Riviera, but we've moved around some stuff. So it used to be a clock in the middle. We added a tack. And then down on the left side, we actually added a digital indicator to let you know what gear you're in as you shift through. Lots of little things added through here. Again, same Australian bloodwood down through the middle. It's actually the same board that goes all the way up through. Blake sliced it out. So that way, if you were to lay it out, it would still look like the same piece with the grain falling all the way through the middle. And then down the middle, the shifter down here, having the newer 6-speed configuration down through the middle of it, and actually having the manual position on it as well. Up top, we repurposed the original switches that used to run power antenna and some of the other stuff to do the electric parking brake, door locks, trunk release. We added a power trunk release. So a lot of modern little touches, vintage air for the controls. Again, updated the original controls down here, new bezels around for the indications on it. But down here is kind of one of the fun ones. We repurposed one of the switch sets down here to be able to do the volume up and down for the cutouts. So you can change it louder or quieter, and then below it controls the ride height. So for the JRI ride height control, you can take both of them, make it really loud, it'll drop down. You can kind of scroll up through, you can make it louder, raise it back up when you're cruising through the towns, and then slam it back down if you want it to be loud and fun. So that's kind of a fun little addition. It kind of hides it in the original controls. Like I say, you wanted to keep the original line, all the chrome work. There's a lot of little details all the way through. It actually updated the stereo. It actually has a little subwoofer in the back and one of the original speaker holes in the back there. So actually the sound system sounds really good in this car. This is going to be probably one of the funner, fancier interiors we've done in a while. So let's move on to the engine bay. This is one of the fun areas here. So we wanted to still retain the look of a Buick Riviera under the hood, but everything in here is still the newest modern stuff you can get in here. So we have the Mast Motorsports LSX motor in here, but we've done a lot of work and machine work to make it look like a Buick nailhead. We've actually 3D scanned the motor, and we actually drew up different covers. So Down in here is actually the valve cover, and then these are actually covers that look like a nail head. Definitely fooled a lot of people. A lot of that have seen it at the reveal, trying to figure out what is it. Is this actually a nail head? Is it not? This is actually a very powerful LSX underneath the hood. And so it's the little details we wanted to keep. So like I said, the inner fenders, little shapes that you would recognize, especially like the fan shroud here. It's got a spall fan. Blake made the shroud around so that way it still resembled the original shroud that you would expect to look under the hood. Otherwise it looks, there's like a space in there you would expect. Same thing with the top here. Matt Hay machined this piece out that goes on top of the radiator. And that way it's then, again, it looks like the radiator tank. And I just wanted to show off this great job here that Josh did. This air cleaner is actually all custom made. He hand formed it. And then the top here is machined out. It again, supposed to mimic the original Buick air cleaners like they were. But yeah, Matt Hay, our machine shop here, did all that in-house. And then down the lower part here, we even included the valley cover and the oil fill. It's what you would expect for it to look under there. The closeout they did an excellent job with that, and Josh did the steam tube through, but all the way through, it's the way you would expect to still look. Even with the wiring, you know, did braiding and stuff, but hit all the wiring as much as possible, so in that way, the only ones you'd see are the sensors you'd expect to see back then. The fab guys did an awesome job on this. They knocked it out as always on this project. The LSX actually is controlled by our Holley Dominator EFI. It runs all the fuel injection on it. We got that tucked away up underneath the kick well on the floor. But all the wirings will hit up in the middle, and then we're running a 6L90 transmission from Bowler down through to Gear Effects 4.9 in the back that we usually run. They're C7 hubs. Up in the front, you actually will see up in there, as you get closer to the details of things that we have, we actually have down here our Bosch ABS run down through. And then as you see closer, to get the front, to get all of us to fit like we want, and get that Pro Touring handling that we needed from this car, the front is actually our first gen Camaro subframe, grafted in the front, custom made midsection of frame. A lot of work in the midsection to get all of it to fit through the floor of the frame. And the back half is still Buick Riviera. And the rear suspension is a custom suspension with our swivel links back there on the 4.9-inch housing. Even though it on the outside looks like Riviera, it should perform like all of our cars, like we expect them to. Handle and brake and turn excellent, as best as you could ever expect from this car. One of my favorite parts of this build is those headlights. Like I say, you have to have that on a 65. I mean, we had to make them do their thing, and I mean, it has just been, they are so much fun, and it was a lot of work to get them to set up the way you want. We kept the original mechanism, but the doors and everything else we changed around, again, to change that styling for the front. We have our Holley Retro Bright headlights, the classic white, the 5 3/4. These look awesome. They look perfect in there. They fit the part. And like you say, be able to get all that mechanism in there and get it all the open and close the same from the same motor. It was a fun challenge. I really enjoyed it. This, like I say, it turned out great. And this is one of the key points that we wanted to make sure we kept true to this car, was that it still had the clamshells working just like they did. If you'd like to go further into this build and look at the project photos, updates as we went through, go to DetroitSpeed.com/projects. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow us on social media. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.